Hey there, crew. Today we are going to talk about my favorite artist. His name is Henri Matisse, and his nickname is the King of Color because his artwork is the boldest and brightest of colors, and that was his favorite element of design, color. And he also loved shape, and he also loved line. He also loved pattern. So line, shape, color are elements of design, pattern, and contrast and balance. So he kind of had all these elements and principles of design in his work. But he was nicknamed the King of Color because that was his favorite, and that's my favorite too. And he is from the country of France. All right, let's get some vocabulario. So vocab words, still life. So a work of art that shows an arrangement of objects on a table. So we just did a still life with fall objects, and then a portrait is a work of art that shows a person or an animal or both. So Matisse loved both of these things, the still life and the portrait. So the still life is objects on a table, portrait is person or animal, and if you read some of the stories or listened to the stories that I read about Matisse, he had a lot of pets and loved animals as well. So like it says down here, we're going to use pattern, shape, color, and line, and more. So here's two examples of Henri Matisse's work, and actually I have these pictures hung up in my classroom here at Gateway, so you may recognize them. So which one of these is the still life? Which is the portrait? Or are they somehow both? So I'll give you a second to think about that. You can pause the video if you want. Again, a still life is an arrangement of objects on a table, and a portrait is a picture of a person or an animal or both. So I'll let you think about that. And then when you hit play again after you pause, you can figure out if you're right. So if you said both to both, you are correct. And if you just said still life, you're correct. And if you just said portrait, you're correct. Because if you look here, we have plants in pots, and we have a big fish tank. So we have objects arranged on a table. But these little fishies are alive. These little fishies are animals. So technically, this is a portrait of Henri Matisse's goldfish, but also a still life of some of his potted plants and his fish tank. And then also patterned wallpaper and plants all around it. So this is a still life and a portrait. And then over here, we have a portrait of this lady, but also a table with objects arranged on it. So it's not just a portrait, it's also a still life. So I kind of tricked you. These are both combinations of still life and portrait. So flowers and fruit on a table, and again, funky patterns, lines, textures and colors in the background. I just love the work of Matisse. He really is the king of color. So we have some other vocabulario. So you know I speak a little Spanish, but then we're going to teach you a French term here because Matisse is from France. It's called mise en abîme. Mise en abîme is a French term meaning picture within a picture. So it's kind of like messing with your mind a little bit. So a painting inside a painting, or the artist is tricking the viewer and asks the viewer to think, is that a window? Is that a painting, or is that a mirror on the wall in the artwork? So art inside art, kind of inception, messing with your brain. So I kind of like it because it can confuse people, it can make them think, it can make them stop and look a little longer at your masterpiece. So in these three Matisses, let's let you decide. In this one over here, like the Red Harmony room, has what I think of as a window. Some people think it is a painting. Some people might think it's a mirror reflecting the outside through a window. So it's up to you to decide if you think that's a mirror, window, or painting. I think it's a window personally, but it could also be a frame around a painting or drawing as well. Art within art, mise en abîme. Then over here, to me, these look like paintings, but again, could be a mirror, could be a window, I suppose. I still think they're paintings, though, but I'll let you decide as well. We can't ask Matisse right now, so it's kind of up to you to decide. This one might be the trickiest of all, because we have this portrait a work of art of a person, but then it's like the exact same pose, the same person, the same clothes, the same background, walls and chair. Could this be a reflection? Could this be a mirror? Or did someone take a picture and put up a photograph and then Henri Matisse painted it? Or did Henri Matisse paint the painting and then have the model sit again and do a painting of the painting? That's confusing. So Matisse is messing with our mind. Mise en abîme, picture within a picture. Is it a mirror? Is it a painting? Is it a window? We'll never know for sure. So I love the idea that it could be all three. So I'm going to put these cool Matisse paintings up here. You can pause it if you'd like, and I want you to point to examples of portrait, animals or people in the artwork. I want you to point to still life, arrangement of objects on a table. I want you to point to mise en abîme, a window, a mirror, or a painting, whatever you think it could be, and try to make a list. Count how many examples of portrait, examples of still life, and examples of mise en abîme you can find in these artworks. So you can pause it, you can tally it up with your new vocabulary, and see what you come up with. All right, if you've pushed play again, you may have come up with a list. You may have found some examples. I'll just point out a few because there are many. These were like the 3 favorite topics of Henri Matisse. Let's start over here. This right here, it is a face of someone, so that's technically a portrait, but could this also be mise en abîme? Is this a mirror of someone in the background? Is this an artwork of someone? Is it a window and someone's outside peeking in? We'll never know. This, to me, has to be a window because it looks like this is the shutter opening up to the outside. But then again, this kind of looks like the wallpaper too. So he's tricking us again. It could be a mirror. It could be a painting. We don't know. But either way, it's mise en abîme. So we have portrait, mise en abîme, and of course, here's a still life, an arrangement of objects on a table. He loves his fruit bowls. He loves his plants. Good work, Matisse. Here we have another example of a still life. We have arrangement of objects on a table. This could be a curtain, but it also could be an artwork or maybe a window. This is an abstract scene outside. Same with this. To me, I feel like this is a window and this is an artwork. But either way, mise en abîme. Let's hop over here. The daisies, the vase, the lemons. That's an arrangement of objects if I've ever seen one. Oh, and it's on a table. So that's a still life. We have a portrait here of a lady sitting down. And then this is a picture of a person. So it's a portrait, but it's also mise en abîme. Picture within a picture. I love this one. We have our still life, arrangement of objects on a table. So a book, a placemat, and a bunch of flowers. Then we, of course, have a portrait because we have our lady sitting and reading at the table. But then you see the reflection of her in the back. So that's got to be a mirror, right? If it's a mirror, that would be mise en abîme. This might be even a bigger mirror or a bigger window. Another example of mise en abîme. Then we have 1, 2, 3 paintings over here on the wall. So that would be mise en abîme, but also more portraits because they're of people. Man, Matisse is awesome. Up here, portrait, mise en abîme, still life, mise en abîme. He's got it all going on in there. This one we looked at earlier, I still think it's a window. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a window. And then, of course, there's a still life and a portrait. So 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. He's hit all the vocabulary. And then here we have our musicians. So that's a portrait because it is people. And I don't know. I think this could be a window to the outside, or it could be a painting of trees. And we've got cool patterns. And then the music book and some fruit and an instrument make a cool still life on the table. So Matisse, I could just look at his work all day. He also, if you read the stories, is all about the cutouts. So later in his life, he got older, he got sick, but he didn't stop making art. He never gave up. So he continued painting papers and cutting them up to make different shapes and collages. So he called it painting with scissors. So another vocab term, Collage is to cut and glue and put materials together like papers and scraps to make a work of art. So all of this is cut up paper and scraps, glued together and arranged to make a masterpiece. So Matisse did a lot of drawing, a lot of painting, a lot of collaging. He even did some sculpting. So because he loves all these different techniques and was a master at all of them and loved color, pattern, shape, line, balance, contrast, all of the above, that's what makes him my favorite. So here's him working. Here's some more of his cutouts. Look at all those scraps on the floor. I wouldn't want to help him clean up anytime soon if he kept a messy studio like that. But then here's that famous mermaid and the parakeet. So if you can spot him in there from the story we read too, we got our mermaid over here, our parakeet, and all the fun shapes and colors and patterns. So review this video before you make your work of art. But again, we want to try and include collage. We want to try and include mise en abîme, picture within a picture. You can impress your friends, family, and fan clubs with your French knowledge of mise en abîme, picture within a picture. And then, of course, still life and portrait. So try to use all of your vocabulary in your work of art. Impress your fans and impress me too, because you are champions. You can do anything you put your mind to. So Matisse is the king of color, and you are champion artists too. So keep up the good work and make sure to send me your progress and your final product. Good luck.